Alright, we're going to do a review of Tradingview.com. It's probably the #1 tool used by Bitcoin traders. There's other sites like CryptoWatch, cryptowat.ch, or bitcoinwisdom.com. Some people like that. It's simpler. They can draw trend lines and some basic things. But TradingView is really a more expanded set of tools and kind of an advanced way to look at technical analysis. Now, technical analysis isn't everything. Sometimes it's kind of like reading tea leaves. You're gonna need to think and use a lot of your other skills along with technical analysis. But what it does is kind of point you in a direction so that you can get an idea. So let's go ahead and look. This is Bitstamp 4-hour chart. And the first thing you're going to notice is green and red candles. At a really basic level, in case you're new to that, you can see these are OHLC candles, or open, high, low, close. So the open is the base of the candle in this case because it's a green candle, and the close is the top. And if the close is higher than the previous candle, it's going to show green. Now, this one does not have any what we call wicks, which kind of look like candlesticks, the actual things that come out of the candles. So in this case, you can see there's a large wicks. There's a black line. Let's zoom in a little bit here. So these are the high and low. So during the trading of this candle, it went as high as this point and as low as this point. But the open, so the open in this case, since this is a red candle, is the top, open, and close is the bottom. So that's what dictates whether it's green or red. And you can go ahead and get an idea of that. Obviously, this is a green candle, this is a red candle. On the bottom, you're going to see volume. So here you can see a bunch of candles, a bunch of columns which represent the amount of volume that has taken place. And it's relatively opaque or transparent. But here you have your main indicators. So if you really wanted to, you could go to Style, and this is Style for Volume, and you could click on this color. And you can see that it's all the way pretty much over here to transparent. So if you wanted to make it more visible, you could make it more visible. If you're using volume a lot, you're probably going to want it like around here. And maybe you want your red to be similar to that. And with your inputs, so you have your average, moving average, which is the blue. You can adjust that. And this says 20 periods. So if we were to do, say, 1, or let's say 100, it's going to change the way the average looks because it's taking more data in. We won't go into detail on that. So, like I said, here's your main indicators. Since I'm looking at BTC USD, this is where you type in your symbol. So for Bitcoin, BTC USD or BTC CNY, and you're going to see similar charts for all of them. But we could select Bitstamp or Bitfinex or whatever we like to chart. We'll do Bitstamp. Here we have our time frame. So the time frame dictates how long the candles are calculating the price. Now, if we use a 1 minute, we're going to see a lot of crazy action going on. More so on Bitstamp than some other exchanges, but it's really hard to follow. 15 minute, you're going to see more candles. So basically what it does is it shortens the length of time that is used to print the candles, and the shorter length, the more sensitivity you have. And this also affects your volume, anything else that's calculating averages. 15 is kind of the lowest you might want to go. Some people like 1 hour. You can get an idea of more candles. You can get more real time. I often chart 4 hours. I find 4 hours is good for establishing a more long-term trade. If you're, let's say if you're high leverage, you might want to do a lower time frame because you have less wiggle room. If you're trading spot, you might want to do a higher time frame. You might even want to go up to 1 day or 1 week. But with Bitcoin's volatility, you're probably going to want to use somewhat of a low time frame. So we've gone over this time frame here. Now we can look at candles. There's a number of different options. The traditional candle is what most people use, and we'll focus on that. But there's also Heiken Ashi, which uses a little bit different setting for calculating the candle color and open, high, low, close type. So you'll see a little bit more smooth, green, 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 red, red, green, green. Some people like that. So if you want, look up Heiken Ashi. I'm not going to go into detail. You also have bar, Kagi, point and figure. But I prefer just your standard candles. Under settings, you have a cogwheel here, chart properties. You can change the color of the candles. You can change how the scales work. So if you want to use a logarithmic scale, background colors, time zone, and there's also trading. So there is a built-in trading system which allows you to do, trades with paper trades, so fake trades, and events and alerts. These don't really apply to Bitcoin. Dividends, splits, earnings. These are for traditional trading. So you'll see bubbles if you're looking at Intel or if you're looking at Microsoft or something like that. So time zone and sessions, things like this, obviously apply to more traditional trading. Now, if you want to do that, obviously TradingView has a big community of people trading Forex, foreign exchange, stocks, things like that. These will probably be more interesting to you. However, if you look at the chat, cryptocurrencies, which it was renamed recently, I believe, has the most members. And that's partially because people who trade cryptocurrency are addicted and love to chat. Don't get it wrong. There's plenty of other people on the platform trading traditional things. So you can look at cryptocurrencies, see kind of what people are posting. They have ideas and various things. And that is the chats selection. Now we're going to go ahead and look at compare. If you wanted to, you could add a symbol. Let's just add BTCNY, BTCCNY. This will add a symbol on the chart. In this case, it's doing the bar lines. And you can see that BTCCNY and BTCUSD are very similar, as they should be because of arbitrage. So if you wanted to compare it against something, feel free. And I'm just going to hit Control Z, which allows you to undo. And then we have indicators. So for indicators, built-ins is your kind of the bread and butter indicators, the most common one. A lot of people love Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands allow you to show sort of how tight the price is, so when it's flat. And all of these you can look up. Okay, there's a great site called Investopedia, and I might do another video for that. Something else that a lot of people like is the Ichimoku cloud. And the Ichimoku cloud is quite complex, but on the simplest level you have a green and a red cloud, hence the name, and green shows that you are in a bullish territory, and the line at the bottom provides support, the line at the top provides support, and kind of shows you when a breakout happens. And what Ichimoku do is projects price somewhat forward so you can get an idea of where you're at. Now, all the indicators kind of work on averages and allow you to, make a decision without just looking at the candles. They give you some insight, and you might want to experiment and play around. As I said, your indicators are up here, so if you wanted to change the way they look or you want to remove them, you can click the X. I'm just going to remove them all. One of the most common ones, and you have a search here, is moving average exponential. I'll add just 2 of these, and I will set 1 to 27 so you can see the 2 EMAs, and which is shorthand for exponential moving average. And this is a very common indicator used. What it does is it averages the candles out and uses an exponent to sort of speed up the process a little bit. There's also a traditional moving average, which is just a straight average. And you can see when the 2 lines cross, okay, this price is coming down, or these lines cross, okay, they're going to come up. It's not a perfect indicator, but a lot of people use that. Now, besides built-in library, there's public library, and these are created by users. There's a lot of different stuff here. Okay, so you might want to play around and see what you like, but it's kind of specific to that user. They create what they want. Let me just get a little coffee there. Now, we've seen indicators at the top. What about indicators at the bottom? So let's look at the RSI, or Relative Strength Index. I'm not going to go in detail what the RSI is, but you can think of it kind of like when there's a lot of movement. So here the price really went up. The RSI comes above, and you can see that, hey, maybe this is very volatile, and this might be a place to get out when the RSI is up. And conversely, when the RSI is down, hey, this is a low point, maybe this is a point to get in. Now, as with any indicator, it's not a perfect indicator, but RSI is well tested, as most indicators are. They've been around a long time. And since it's a bottom indicator, you can change the size. There's a few of these. There's MACD. There are Williams %R. And the reason they're at the bottom is because it allows you to get a view of what the price is doing, but it doesn't really make sense to overlay it on the chart because it has specific levels here. You can see that the RSI is up at 80, and so this is relative to what the indicator parameters are. You can see down here it's at 24, so it makes sense to chart this at the bottom. So you're going to see a number of these MACD, RSI. And now let's look at some of the side indicators. So we have what's called a trend line. There's a number of other ones, like regression trend, which gives you an idea of not just a trend line, but a positive period and a negative period. So it's kind of splits up. Right, so you can use that to get an idea of what the price is doing. Let's look at trend lines, though. That's a very common thing here. So trend line, essentially, what you're doing is you're drawing from the bottom. Let's change the color here to red so that you can see it. So I'm drawing from the bottom to show kind of what the trend line is. And this is useful because it gives you kind of an idea of the overall flow. And you can see that we set a small trend here and we've stayed above that. Obviously this is a bullish period or a bullish movement. So trend lines are very relative to where you want to draw them. I mean, I could draw a trend line here off the bottom. You know, you could draw it on the wick. Let me remove that here. You could draw it on the wick of a candle. You could draw it on the body of a candle. So for instance here, this might be more interesting. And these are very common. You'll see these in charts. Let's remove those. Keep in mind this is a very basic overview, so we can go into detail to more things. As you go down, there's other things that you can do. Some common ones are long position, short position. So you might want to set, say, a long. I'm going to do a long here, and I'm projecting the price to go here. Obviously, it's easy to project when it's already there. And I'm going to set my stop here, right? So let's say 1%, and here's 3, so 4% change. And this allows you to sort of keep track of what trades you've made and also kind of figure out where stops might be. Now here's an example of what you could do. You could say the lowest price was here, so I'm going to set my stop a little bit lower, and I'm going to go for, I don't know, 1 to 5. So risk reward ratio here is 5. It's a 1 to 5. So stops sometimes are percents, are what you're comfortable with, but are also like, where was the support of the move? Obviously, we can see, let me delete this here. We can see there was a number of times here where it tried to drop, support, support, support. So that might be an idea. Here you can see there's a number of other things. Here, basically, you have your Elliott waves and a few other things. So your head and shoulders patterns, ABCD pattern. And, you know, I encourage you to look up Elliott waves and see if it's what you like. Essentially, it's saying that candles or the price action moves to a certain methodology, and you can predict this with Elliott waves. And here with the pitchfork, there's a number of things. Some people love fib retracements, you know, so you could do something simple like this is the basic fib retracement. You could take, let's just take the bottom of this candle, and you can go up here and extend it. And you can see that the fib levels, which is Fibonacci numbers, and I'm not going to go into detail with that now, but you can see that the Fibonacci levels actually kind of held. And so it gives you a little bit of idea of supports and maybe an idea of levels to keep track of. 618 is often a really important level, so when it breaks the 618. But that's up to you, and that's also up to research. So those are the ideas. You also have these icon markers if you want to make a chart. You might want to put a Facebook icon. Wow, Facebook. It's so cool. It's up to you. Now, there's a lot of charting that goes on, okay? Now, I mentioned in the chat, you can see people's charts. This is an example of a chart. It's quite advanced. It has levels These are levels, probably an indicator in the public library or added. And you also have sort of a MACD indicator. So it's going to take a little while to get comfortable. If the person's polite, they'll show what they're using. But here they're charting PayPal, not Bitcoin. So it's going to look a little different. Also, if you go to the main page, so if you just go to tradingview.com, you can search ideas. So let's see here. Search ideas. We can do BTC USD. All right. And these are going to output charts that are relative to BTC USD. And like I mentioned, everyone has their own strategy. Here's a bunch of fibs, and it looks colorful. Here's some guesses on how the bars are going to play out. And what's interesting is if you look at older charts, you can click on the play button. Obviously, this was just posted, so you're not going to see anything. But if you were to look at old charts, you can get an idea of like, hey, is this person accurate? Or hey, do I understand how it played out? And that's useful because, in trading, it's hard to figure out who to listen to. So I would say there's 2 points. Somebody's chart that you can read that makes sense to you. Here is a very simple chart with trend lines and, not just trend lines, but with wedges. Wedges sort of show when the price is condensing and give you an idea of when it might possibly break out based on multiple trend lines. So this is an easy chart to read, right? This might be a good chart to start on. Whereas, this chart here, well, we're using Elliott waves. We're using fib retracements with this sort of bucket pattern. And that's a little overwhelming for a new trader. So I'd say, if you're looking at ideas, find something you're comfortable with. So let's go back and look at one more thing. We have my unnamed chart. What you might be interested in doing is saving your chart layout, right? So I've set up my chart. I like how it is. I'll call it, layout 1. And that way I can go back and see what I'm doing. I can give you an idea of kind of how my chart looks. I'm not going to say I'm the best trader, but sorry, let's see here. This is, and I've been trading Forex a bit. This is kind of what my chart looks like. A little messy, but I have the Ichimoku cloud that I mentioned, so I have support. I have candle coloring, which I'm using a custom indicator, but there is Spider Crusher, which is in the pay section, and it kind of gives me an idea. And I also have what's called average true range stop strategy. I like it. It kind of gives me an idea. I need to make it a little more sensitive. And I'm not using any of the bottom indicators right now. I find them to be very relative and hard to interpret, and I like to see the price action and the candles and kind of what's really playing out, because with the MACD, and this is S&P 500 by the way, with something like the MACD, moving average, convergent, divergent, let's see if it comes up. You get crosses. So let's go to BTC USD. You get crosses here. Still bullish. Still looks nice. It's crossed. Should I sell? I don't know. Here, really nice cross. Gives me a good idea. Here, it crossed, but that was because of momentum. It slowed momentum, so the MACD crossed. But this wasn't really a sell, right? And it's the same with a lot of the other ones. So you might want to play around and see which one fits best for you.